SNS has different kind of networks, projects that we do found. The annual networks, which some of you are coordinating now in collaboration with the Forest Bioeconomy Network. We also have research projects running for 3 years. Nord4Net, like bigger networks running for 5 years. And this anniversary networks are projects that some of you are also coordinating because of our 50 years anniversary last year. So this is kind of an extra call that we had. For all of them, we have this aim of the funding to strengthen forest research in the Nordic region, including the autonomous areas of Faroe Island and Greenland and Åland Islands as well. So we have these like words like increased synergies, interlink projects, bridge gaps, promote collaboration across sectors, and benefit the Nordic countries. That's the overall main for all of these networks and research projects that we fund. And of course, it also differs a bit between the networks or projects, what kind of activities we fund, but usually for arranging workshops and seminars, webinars and meetings, conferences. It could also be to produce scientific papers or policy recommendations, or provide the possibility for you to apply for larger research funding. Could be create or maintain databases, a website, or even bench fees. Here you see for the annual networks and the anniversary networks, what kind of cost that we fund for the anniversary networks. You can see it differs that we fund activities for salary and overhead costs and salaries for the Nordic participants. Otherwise, it is travel and accommodation, meeting cost, could be external consulting costs as well. For the annual networks, of course, it's a time frame for 1 year. The anniversary networks projects, 1.5 years, beginning 1st of January for both of them. You can note the deadline for reporting for the annual network is 1st of March next year and 1st of October next year for the anniversary networks. I would recommend you that you take a look at the report form that we will have on our web page, so you are familiar with what you're supposed to report on. There are, for example, like numbers of participants from the different countries and things like that. So we are aware of what is needed in that sense. And we would also like you to include a popular science piece. We made a short introduction of how to put it together, this popular science piece as well. And we want to use it to be able to tell about your networks and what you have accomplished, for example, in our news letters and so. It's typically so that you need to have finished the activities and spend the money within the actual time frame of the network. So it's by the end of December or by the end of June that we expect that you have finished the activities and spend the money. If there are changes to the plan, it could be that the activity plan is delayed, or there's happens something that cause an interruption or something. So if it's substantially different to the plan that you made in the application, we should be informed about it. And if it's larger changes, we should also approve it here from the SNS Secretariat. If there are larger deviations in the budget, saying you're using it for something else, it also needs to be approved by SNS. But smaller changes is okay to make. We have experienced, maybe also due to COVID, but some networks had difficult actually spending all the money. So if you experience that, or you will realize you will not be able to use all the funds, please inform us about it. Maybe we can come up together with another plan of how you could spend the money for something else, if you have an idea for that. So you could be a little proactive in this regard on how to spend the money if you see that it's not possible to use it as you planned. Yeah, and of course, if you have unspent fund after the period, and we haven't agreed on you using it, it's something else, or have an extension of the network, this should be repaid to SNS. So you as a project coordinator, you have some responsibilities. The overall responsibility to implement the plan that you have in your networks, that you had in your application. We would also like you to invite us from the SNS Secretariat to any of the activities that you're planning. Then you should, of course, submit the final report and the financial account in time. And we don't need, with the financial accounting, all the detailed behind it, but you should be able to provide it to us if we ask you for it. We'll come back to the gender equality guidelines and what responsibilities you have there. Yeah, now Kaja, she can tell you a bit about what opportunities we can offer the communication. So Kaja?
Yeah, I want to introduce myself first, and I have worked as a journalist for several years at a Swedish newspaper for agricultural news and forest news. And I've also worked with some specialized magazines also for agriculture and forestry. I have worked as a reporter for a short while, but mostly with layout and other stuff. So now I'm working as a communications officer for SNS and NKJ, and I'm working with about everything in communication, like managing the websites. I'm making a newsletter. I hope you receive our newsletter. You have the link in the chat if you want to sign up for it. And we also have social media, and the links are also in the chat. So please follow us in the social media to have all news about new funding opportunities or events that we are arranging. And SNS has been in the forestry sector for quite a while. So we have a broad network with people. So we have good opportunities to spread news in that network. So when you are organizing workshops or have publications somewhere in a paper, or you have some news of any kind that you want to spread, or you want to have participants for your conference, you just have to reach out, and I will do my best to spread your news in our channels that we have. And we can also, sometimes I can attend a meeting or a workshop to document and to spread the news afterwards. And sometimes I have received texts from people about something they have arranged, and we have made a news article about it and published it in in the SNS website. And there is a lot of solutions for spreading news in our network. So please reach out for me when you need me. And the best way to reach me is by mail. And after that, we can have meetings, or we can have phone contact, or whatever is suitable, so we can find a solution for the best way to spread your news. And I also want to say that our SNS logo we are happy if you use it for your invitations or agendas or whatever materials you are using for your activities, if you are funded by us. So yeah, I think that was what I wanted to say.
The first one is easy. Would you mind sharing the official logo? So we use the official logo, this is JPEG or whatever form you want us to use it. The SNS logo.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Do you have if you have an official SNS logo with the right colors, would you please share that with us so we use the right type?
Yes, I can send it out to you, and it's also on the page to just download.
Okay.
But I can send it out to you. It's easier for you.
And just for clarification, Anna, when you speak of events, these are the bigger events. Do you also want to attend some meetings we have from time to time, or just the big ones?
I'm thinking more like the bigger events you have. Yeah, be more relevant, as Kaya says, that we can help you spread news about that. Then I will introduce you to these gender, I call it guidelines that we have produced. Well, the background for making these gender equality guidelines is, like, in general, that it's a male-dominated sector, and we see a great potential for improve the equality and ensure the future competitiveness in the forest sector. We have for a while had these requirements of meeting this 60-40 share of men and women in the applicants and in the participants and so on. But we also wanted to take it a step further, so it's not only about the number of women or men in the networks or projects, that we want you to give you the possibility to engage even further in this topic. So it's a guidelines that are should be seen as a help for you to engage in this further. We have made it 2 years ago. Last year was the first time the networks worked with this, and it's consists of these 4 steps that we want you to do while you have an active network. The guidelines provide you with more details, but here you can see the first part, the analysis step, where you introduce it in your networks and trying to reflect a bit upon where you stand now with these topics. How can you work with it? Have you worked with it before? Where do you want to set in and actions you can take in this network? Step 2 is the actual planning. What actions do you want to do in your networks? What is most suitable for you in preparing this plan? The actual actions that you should undertake, I have a list of them for the next slide, so you can see them more in details, just to give you an idea of what it could be. And the final step is the monitoring step, which is a part of the report that you submit to us when you finished your network, where you will write what have you done in the analysis planning step, which actions did you take during your networks, and how did it work? How did it work for you? Here are the action points from the guidelines as an example of what you can do within the network. We have set this goal that you should, for the annual network and the anniversary networks, complete at least one of these action points. But of course, you're welcome to do more. For example, it could be using the respect ladder. I don't know if you know it, Respekttrappen in Swedish. It's a web page where you actually follow some steps in your network, and making some what you call it, small assignments where you discuss it later in your work, that how you can engage more in these gender issues. It could also be maybe like smaller things. You could measure the time in your meetings where men and women talk using this web page. There are points, for example, to reserve leadership roles for women, using gender neutral language when you communicate both internally and externally. You could also, using hashtags to promote the gender equality thing. So these are some examples of action points that you can choose from or try to do in your network. So you should see this as a help for you to try to engage more in this topic, as we see that could be of benefit to the network, and also in the larger sense. I got a question from Francisco about, for example, with the financial situation, whether we prefer that the one institution, for example, make all the bookings and reservations when it comes to travel, or if you could distribute it among the institution, if I understand you correct, Francisco. And for SNS, we don't care, so to speak, as long as you know the total thing. So it's up to you how you will control and manage that. With these gender equality guidelines and the role of you as a project coordinator, it is to ensure implementation and process, and also to document it in the final report. But it's not necessarily you who should maybe be responsible for taking it forward in the network. It depends on how you decide within your team. Maybe someone else should have the role of being responsible for taking these actions, for example. So it's not necessarily you who needs to do that. I would like to hear some of your thoughts and points from the discussions you had in each group. Maybe on the first point on how you could imagine that your network could work with these guidelines. Have you any thoughts about that? How you could work with these? Yeah, Dan?
Yeah, just one thing that came up to my head right now is that, for example, in our network, we will arrange a conference, and we have a call for abstracts, and we are highly promoting that young researchers, both master students and PhD students, send in their send in some interesting research they have done or are about to do. And of course, when picking out speakers or whatever, I will for sure, or our group will for sure make sure that we create a good balance within that. Of course, that will be very important, and also the keynote speakers and that. And then when we're arranging our excursion, we're doing it together with the Force Technology Cluster, which is situated up here in Umeå. And actually in that organization there are, which is in a area which is very, very male dominated. In the organization it's only females working, and they are doing an excellent job promoting females out in this industry, and we're cooperating in this project and arranging it together. So I think that will also be hopefully one way of maybe we can attract some other type of researchers coming into this meeting. But I think it's so, these things are so difficult to work with. I'm not sure if it's me that's the problem, probably, but it's hard to work with it because, yeah, I need some experts helping me, I think, taking care of this business. But we will try do our best, make sure that we can, from different fields, of course, and countries in our meetings, make sure that we can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you any other thoughts on the questions? How you could work with these guidelines? Do you see them as a good tool? How could they contribute to your network?
Okay, I can say something. I think it's a good tool. I think as a coordinator, I maybe would have struggled to think about things that I can do within the network to better promote this issue. So I think actually what you provided in the guidelines is, yeah, it gives me some ideas of how to better incorporate it. And I will engage some people in the network to help me with this, because as a coordinator, there's a lot of logistics and other things to take care of when running the meetings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not easy to handle everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually nice if not only the women take care of these sorts of housekeeping tasks to keep track of all the numbers and stuff like that, but also by involving maybe some more men in the network to have a discussion about this, or to have the task of documenting and being aware about how many female speakers there are, how many are being quite active in the participation and things like that. This will also make maybe more men be observant of things that are happening within the network too.
Mm-hmm.
It tends to be that women kind of take up these sorts of roles with talks and tasks related to gender equality. I would personally like to see more men involved in doing that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. I thought we had this discussion at the Force faculty that it's always women working with these issues, and I mean to change it, at least it should be 50-50 working with the issues, but it never happens. But actually now at our department, the person in charge of working with this issue is a male, and he's very, very engaged in it. And he's also part of the education. So Yeah, it's difficult to get. I mean, first of all, you have to be really engaged in it. Otherwise, I don't think it's any point. It's just a person on a position doing nothing. So find these persons that really can engage. I mean, maybe that's the key. You know, but we need more of us that, and persons, of course, that are interested and engaged.
Any other ones to comment?
Perhaps just two
Yeah.
comments. The first one, in our working group, we talked about perhaps at times it's helpful to deviate from the idea of gender equality and think about gender inclusiveness, because at times it can be difficult in some environments to have 50-50 equal representation. In some situations, you might have more female or females, the other way around. But that everyone should feel included and invited to participate. That's one thought that came from the conversation we had. As for the specific actions within a network, in my case, in my annual network, we have one of the deliverables is an opinion paper to be written in coordination with the junior researchers in the network. And I think some specific action we can take is to work with them on gender neutral writing, scholarly writing in academia. So my intention is to have, along that process of writing the opinion paper, at least one session on how to achieve that, how to try to be more gender neutral in our writing. And the other thing I think will be very beneficial to my network is if SNS offers any workshops or trainings about gender equality, everyone will be invited from my network to participate. So the specific actions.
Thank you, Francisco. What about the questions on the challenges?
Could you help me out with?
Yeah, the question was what challenges you could imagine to encounter when working with the guidelines in your network.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that not so many people think it's important, especially persons with beard and maybe a little bit older. That is what I'm facing. It's okay. They say it's important, but then nothing happens, or we're not addressing it on a daily basis. And I think that's the biggest challenge, because how to penetrate that culture and split it.
We also discussed in our group that the focus is on forestry, and it can be an issue to change the focus to gender equality suddenly and make forest researchers engage in that question. So it takes some engagement from you to make it happen.
Yeah, I would agree that it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I would
Andreas,
agree that it takes some engagement and that we have to do it. But I was also talking in the group that we need some more flexibility. And I think this has to do, for example, we are talking about these 4 bio courses we want to do in the network. So we have a limited set of students that are interested at all. So we might have problems getting enough students in the courses. And then when we have on top of this think on gender equality, this might be a problem that we face. And I think we should probably also allow a little bit more time. We need to be engaged, but we can only work with the people that we do have. And in some people, when there is maybe still 80% male, it might be difficult to get enough, or then we should be allowed maybe to have some gender imbalance in the activities if we don't get enough women. So I think we need some flexibility and still I know it might be unpopular, is a bit more patient in some fields, because the recruitment process of people sometimes is before our activities. It's recruiting students, it's recruiting workers, it's recruiting experts. And I think, yeah, we need to keep this task or this goal in our heads, but yeah, we still need to be a bit more flexible. This would be my point. And this should not be an excuse. It's just we can only work with the people that we have available.
One point with these guidelines is also that it not necessarily only a question about the number of female or male, or if it's 50-50 or not, but that are other ways to engage with these issues.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
But I think maybe from our side, from the guidelines and then from the reporting, it feels a little bit like it's a, sort of, it's really needed to have this 50%.
Yeah, of course, it wasn't a requirement that 40-60. The balance. But I do think that there will be room for flexibility in that regard. Yeah, you can't just get more female if it doesn't exist in this part of the research, forest research. Yeah.
And I think the important thing when including a gender perspective in a network or in research or similar is that you actually address the issue. So it's about, because you can't always control the results, but it's important to measure it and to analyze why the results were as they were, because it's still a learning process and we can't achieve gender equality from one network, but just to sort of address it and to incorporate the analysis within the network is the most important part, I'd say.
Yeah, so it's also a bit new to us with these guidelines, but we hope that you will take them with you into your network and try to work with them. And we would like to, if you have any questions or feedback during your network, please reach out to us. But also, as you said, Francisco, about any another workshop or with more knowledge or education on the topic, that could be a thing that we could work on or invite you to. The last thing is we would like you to share a bit of experience with each other. Some are more experienced, some are more new with coordinating these kind of networks. So I would like you to exchange some of your experience. If you have any good advice or what could make a network work well, what is your experience with that? Any success factors? Rimvis?
Yes, I have some experience and I have some related question. To operate like that, and you already partly answered. This is because I have 9 countries, and in the project application form they have each allocated proportionally budget. So then, as I understood, I repeat myself. Our economy department can transfer this money to their economy departments, right?
Sorry, one more time.
To manage the fund, we have 200,000 and they're distributed according to the different country. So if I remember correct, we were sending this assigned money to the respective department in the respective partner. And then the question comes, as I remember, they were collecting their receipts and sort of spendings and presenting to the economy department, and the economy department was writing the letter to us And then this letter was sent as report, financial report. I'm talking about financial report because there's some money to, is that good for reporting to SMS? Or should I collect from each of them the receipts? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a bit noise on the on the line, but whether you should collect the receipts and things from the partner universities, for example.
Yeah, so the question was whether their economy department collects their receipts and then writes the sort of report for us in one letter, in one piece, and sign it and things like that. Is that I collected from all 8 countries, and is that okay to report financially?
Yeah, I would say you wouldn't even need the financial letters to include that in the report, as long as you just fill in the tables for it. But if we ask for more details, you should be able to provide them.
Thank you.
Afterwards, yeah.
Thank you for your answer.
You have an experience on what could make a network work well, or what challenges have you faced previously that you maybe experienced from? Anything you want to?
Well, our network, I hope you can hear, I have some problems with connection. Yeah, it was working during the COVID time, and that caused some challenges, quite many challenges actually. So we had to use, we were planning to have events in Brussels, for example, and workshops and so on, but everything had to be carried out via Teams and so on. But well, I think that everybody is now experienced with that one, but that was a challenge for us at that time, how to connect people in European Commission, for example, when we can't have this event. But I don't know, I don't have any advice, because I guess you are all already experienced with that challenge.
Okay.
Maybe I can just say something.
Yeah.
I mean, just from my experience as a coordinator, it's very important to be very clear with the communications, making sure that the communications go out quite early, to have, when there are meetings going on, make sure you incorporate long breaks, because maybe you have a bunch of presentations set up and you want to get through that, but breaks and having fika, if it's called something else in other countries, it's also very important, because that's where a lot of the networking happens. Also, the discussions over coffee and over lunch. So I wouldn't rush the coffee breaks or the lunch breaks, because this is the time for people to talk to each other and to connect.
Thank you,
I
Michelle.
can agree with that one. And I would also like to add that this is not related to this network especially, but all networks, that we have quite many quiet people, so they should be engaged. So try to be engaged more. It's not just gender issue, but we have people with different personalities, and they may have something important to say, but they are too shy to do it. And sometimes it's maybe not country specific, but I have noticed that in our group, some persons coming from certain countries, they don't speak much. So you need to engage them, try to engage them, encourage, I mean.
Thank you. Good points. Anyone else have anything? No. Okay. Well, that's what we have planned for today. I hope you had some answers to the questions and some good ideas on how to take this work with gender equality guidelines into your networks. And please just write us if you have any questions. So
thank you.
Nothing more. Thank you for today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
Meeting.
Bye-bye.
Was nice.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.